No Jumper, coolest podcast in the world. And today I'm bringing you an interview that just, it had to happen sooner or later. Everybody who listens to the podcast knows when they hear those magic words. Shout out OG Suicide.
Facts.
Today he's here. If they don't watch the No Jumper show, they're not going to know what the hell I'm talking about. But every week you at some point show up and we all say, shout out OG Suicide.
Faithfully, every Tuesday.
Yeah, it's an important part of the show at this point.
Yes.
And I just heard so much about you from AD over the years. I just figured we got to hear the story. I know that there's a story.
Oh, yeah, definitely a story.
Definitely a story. So where are you actually from?
Compton, born and raised.
Okay.
Born and raised.
Right from the same part of Compton that AD is from?
There's only one Compton.
There's only one Compton?
There's only one Compton.
I heard there's a lot of different territories out there.
Yeah, a lot of hoods within Compton.
Okay.
But there's only one city, Compton.
I like it. Okay, and so what was your upbringing like? Like, what era did you come up during?
Oh, on the west side, of Compton. Grew up on Lantana, McKinley Street.
Okay, nice. And what era though? Like what year did you? What year?
I was born in '69.
'69. Okay.
'69. But my life started off with me being abandoned. In Fountain apartment.
Wow.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
And who? How much do you know about this? And how do you know about it? Who told you about it?
My social workers. Because I was pretty much placed in a foster home because me and my older brother was found in an apartment. We had been there for like several days. Neighbors kept hearing kids crying, for days. And finally, they brung children's services and the authorities knocked on the door. Nobody answered, so they came in.
Wow. And so do you know anything about your parents?
I mean, I met them. The first time I met my real mother, I was 13. And Miss Price, when people listen to my music, they always hear me mention Miss Price. Miss Price is who ended up adopting me.
Okay.
She had a foster home, like a temporary foster home where no matter what time of the night or day it was, children's services could bring kids to her house. And she would hold them until they either go back to their original home or placed in the foster home. But with me, she took a liking to me, and that was my heart. And on my 13th birthday, July the 30th is my actual birthday, Miss Price came in the room and said, somebody want to see you. And, I didn't know who it was. And when I walked in there, I see a heavy-set lady, dark skin, standing there. And she said, this is your real mother. And I'm like, what you mean my real mother? Like, you're my real mother.
Did you even not know that Miss Price was your biological mother?
I found out later, but not at that time. I didn't know.
Okay.
Up until I was like 13 years old is when I actually found out.
And this is when you're finding out about the fact that you were abandoned in the first place.
Abandoned in the first place, and she sit me down and actually told me the story. But she let me go with my mother. I don't even like calling her that, but she let me go with Norma Jean. That was her name.
Okay.
She let me go with Norma Jean that day. Went and met aunties, cousins, like family, that I didn't know about, had no knowledge of, because being in this foster home, which I ended up being adopted, these are the only people I ever known as a family.
Right. Holy shit. And so this is just hitting you out of the middle of nowhere. You had no idea that this was coming. You're meeting this whole side of the family. How did your biological mother, how did she explain to you the situation that would lead to a mother doing this?
She pretty much made it seem like, I love you, and, blamed it on drugs. And my thing is, okay, people do drugs, but my thing is kids don't ask to be here.
Right.
And she went back and got my older brother out the system, but she never came back and got me out the system.
Why do you think that was?
She never could answer that question. And like I said, on my 13th birthday, I met my cousins and everything. She brought me back, and I was kind of confused because I'm sitting there interacting with people that I don't even know these people. So I didn't really feel comfortable being, hi, I'm your auntie and I'm your cousin, and we remember when this happened to you, but we were young and there was nothing we can do. It was a lot of excuses and stories that was being given to me.
And did you, you're 13, but is your bullshit detector going off, or are you kind of taking what they're saying at face value?
My bullshit detector exploded, And the whole time they had been living in Compton. on the east side of Compton this whole time.
Right.
So when I when I turned 22, I actually went back over there myself because I had found out I had a little brother and I had a little sister. My little brother, little Willie, who I used to go over there and spend time with. He had nothing to do. How I feel about them, he has nothing to do with. So I tried to embrace him. This is my blood brother. This is my little brother.
Right.
But my older brother used to put in his head, because like I said, in my music, I talk about my real life, you know, like how my mother and father was a piece of shit. They abandoned me. I found out, you know, I was born a crack baby. So I was an innovator when I was first born. I was born a drug baby. So due to that, me growing up in school, I had a learning disorder. So pretty much everything I learned from being in the streets, not in the classroom.
School wasn't doing it for you?
School wasn't doing it. Special ed classes. Couldn't figure it out. I couldn't learn fast enough. I couldn't keep up with the rest of the class.
Right.
So when I was 22, like I said, I used to go back over there and go see my little brother. And I remember Norma Jean standing in the street. You know, she's standing there crying and she talking to me and I love you and I love you and I just want you to know that. And I'm like, you don't even know me. How you love me and I'm a stranger to you. What's my favorite color? What I like to eat? And how you love me? You don't even know me. And then me and my older brother, we don't get along at all because he hate what I say in my music. Man, you're telling lies. I'm not telling lies. Didn't we get abandoned?
He thinks you're telling. Does he just feel like you shouldn't be speaking on?
Yeah, he feel like I shouldn't be saying that. I shouldn't be telling the truth.
Right.
This happened to me. It happened to you too, but she went back and got you. So is there a favoritism? Is there a difference? So we don't see eye to eye at all. And I told him one day, in his neighborhood, on his block, I'll beat you down, straight out.
Right.
We could run that. Because to me, you're nothing. You're a stranger to me. And he force-fed into my little brother head, like, oh, this ain't your brother. So my little brother started acting funny with me and started acting different. So I kind of left it alone. And I also have a little sister named Lynette that I found out, because I found out my auntie stayed down the street from when Norma Jean did. I used to go bam on her door, and it's crazy because she used to peek out the window. Like, and I'm bamming on the door, and I'm like, come on now, you're not a spirit. I can see you, the blinds are moving. And I said, Kat, her name is Kat. I'm like, Kat, I'm your nephew. Frank is my dad, which is my real father's name. I said, Frank is my dad, I'm your nephew. You know, I was abandoned, and I grew up in a foster home. I probably did that for about 3 weeks. And then one day she finally opened the door. And I found out why they call her Cat, because she had about 13, 14 cats in the house. So I'm like,
okay.
Yeah. And she told me where my real father lived. So I went to go visit him, 22, heavy gang member, heavy gang banging. Meet this dude for the first time in my life, face to face. And the first thing he could fix his mouth to say to me is, pull your pants up. I said, man, I'll beat the fuck out you. You don't even know me.
And you're 22?
22 years old.
Wow.
Angry.
How did he respond?
He didn't say shit. You know, I said, man, I'm just here to see Lynette anyway. I'm not even fucking here to see you. We never seen eye to eye.
And how did he react? Like, how did you feel just realizing that he clearly felt no responsibility to the child that he brought into the world? And it's like
None.
Almost impossible to imagine somebody being that careless and thoughtful with somebody's feelings.
Yeah, they was doing drugs then. When I met them, they were still doing drugs. They're both deceased. And
Wow.
Norma Jean, I didn't go to her funeral, but my father's funeral, I went because one of my cousins asked me to go, and I really didn't feel right there because I don't know this dude.
Right.
You know, people crying and everything, but man, I'm a street dude, man. I have no remorse, you know? Like, I just didn't feel it. So I kind of walked out and just stood out and, you know, waited till the service was over. But that's how I felt.
Was there a part of you, though, that wanted some kind of resolution to,
I mean, definitely. Any child, any person want that. Like,
Was there a part, did you ever have that conversation to a point that satisfied you at all with either of them? No.
Not at all. I never got the answers I wanted. But one thing I do know, it was drugs. Okay,
Yeah.
but like I said, kids don't ask to be here, man. So if you got kids, be in their life.
Not every crackhead abandons their kids. You know?
Exactly. Not everyone. But my thing is, we both was abandoned, she went back and got him. Did you go back and get him because he was older, so it was a less of a responsibility? And I was 18 months.
Right.
So I never got the answer, so I let it be. I left it alone.
When you think about your life when you found out about your biological family at 13, does that like mark two very different chapters in your life? Like you just weren't the same person anymore once you found that out?
I didn't feel right no more. You know, I feel like I had been lied to, but like I said, Miss Price, that was my heart, man. I could do no wrong in her eyes.
Really?
She loved me dearly. And, you know, growing up in school, you know, like I said, I had a learning disorder, elementary, junior high. So I kind of didn't really stick to going to school, you know, because I wasn't getting the grades I wanted. You know, I used to turn my F's into A's,
right?
You know, back then and bring home the report card. And Miss Price used to be happy. That was my thing. You know, after the way she loved me, yeah, that was always my thing. No matter what dirt I did in the streets, she one person, I always want to see a smile on her face.
Right. What did you gravitate towards, like, before the streets? Like, at what point did that become part of your life?
Man, I've been involved with growing up in the neighborhoods since I was 8 years old.
In what way? Like what kind of stuff were you getting into at that age?
Oh, man. Well, at 8, you know, you hanging out with the older cats, the OGs. You seeing these dudes hustle. You seeing lowriders in the hood. You seeing cats with wads of money, and all the OGs in my neighborhood, you know, they took a liking to me.
Right.
You know, I was one of them ones. I used to peep game. You know, I've always, my intuition, I always noticed things, and you know, I seen how they was getting down, and I'm like, damn, this is what I need to be doing.
Was LA fucking crazy at that time compared to these days? Compton. Was Compton insane compared to
80s,
nowadays?
90s. I mean, it's crazy now, but 80s,
but now
90s,
everybody can sit on their couch and watch TV or look at their phone, right?
Yeah.
Like back then, you kind of everybody's outside.
Yeah, I mean that was social media.
Yeah,
back then, you know, you was outside,
right?
And like hustling, you know, that became my thing, man. I got fascinated with getting money.
Really?
Yes.
At a young age?
At a young age.
We're talking 8, 9, 10?
Man, I was 13.
Okay.
You know, 13 years old. You know, back then we had homegrown weed. That's before weed had buds on it. You know, it was just leaves, and you would dry it by the heater. You know, you had the wall heaters, and you would dry it by the heater, and it crumble up, and you roll the joints up, and you go to school with the $2 joints every day. And that's going to Enterprise.
That's how you were making money?
Yeah, so I was making money.
But it was weed at first? Did it turn into other shit quickly? Or?
Oh, yeah. It turned into that white girl, you know? Oh, yeah. Man, sticks, you know, I was involved with it.
Did you see coke and crack come out? Or was it already like
well, it really hit Compton 83, 84.
Okay.
You know, it's really when
it
cats
really
had, when it really hit heavy. And, you know, because before that, you seen a lot of people was off PCP.
Oh, really?
Sherm sticks.
That was like the default drug before coke and crack? Really?
Yeah,
That's interesting.
Yeah, that was off that gorilla piss. That's what they called it.
So you started selling guns and shit too, you said?
Well, I had guns.
Right.
That's one thing. I've never been a person that sold my gun.
Okay.
Yeah.
For sure.
You can't go to war without a weapon.
Right. When did you like formally join the gang?
I mean, well, it wasn't a joiner gang with me. I grew up in the hood.
Right.
You know, so I've been there all my life.
I mean, we think of gangs in a certain way now where it's like a lot of people are from a gang when they're actually not from anywhere near that actual area.
Oh, well, you got a lot of that.
But where you come from an age
we
where
was there.
Your block was the block.
That was it. That's what we protected. That's what we took care of. You know, and it started from, you know, fist fights. You know, from fist fight to knives to shotguns and so on. Because back then, you know, cats had hands.
Right.
You know, it was about hands.
So it's still a lot of fighting. It wasn't just everybody shooting each other at that time.
No.
When did you first start to get in trouble? When you get caught?
Man, I was getting in trouble at Ralph J. Bunch Elementary. Yeah, 5th and 6th grade. You know, we was stealing cars and. Man, we used to break into school just to smoke weed and shit.
Break into the school to smoke weed?
Yeah, I mean, you can't be, we young, you know, me and my boy Curtis Taylor.
Right.
You know, and my boy Tony, man, we can't be out on the block at that age. We like, you know, 12, 13 years old.
Right.
So we break in the cafeteria and shit, sitting there and smoke homegrown joints.
Wow. Were you doing other drugs at the time, no?
Oh, no.
Okay.
Oh, no. I ain't never been a sampler.
Right. what? So this whole era of you kind of being out like that, like, did you ever actually get locked up and do a serious amount of time?
I mean, but yeah, I've been in and out the jail from juvenile hall to county jail time and shit like that. Yeah, definitely.
Okay.
Definitely.
How much did that change you, or what was life like after realizing what that was like?
I mean, I really realized. I'll say, because also, I'm a suicide survivor as well.
And what age did that happen at?
I was 22 years old.
Oh, that young. Okay, I'm
Yeah, I was
thinking that was
22.
going to be later in life.
No, I was actually 22 because at Miss Price's house, I was bringing a lot of drama to the house.
Oh, okay.
You know what I mean? I was getting into shootouts. I was selling drugs. So the police was raiding the house. And when I was in camp, somebody shot the house up.
Wow.
Miss Price had opened the door and, thank God. God was protected her because when she opened the door, somebody had a shotgun and started shooting.
And they didn't hit her?
No, and she closed the door just in time. And when I came home, it was still buckshots right by the wall. And her daughters, pretty much had asked me to leave when I was 16.
Wow.
Because back then, I was mad as shit at them.
Yeah.
But as I got older and realized it, I forgave them, and embraced them. But when I was put out, all I knew was the streets. So I was staying pillar to post wherever I could, rest my head. And you could stay at your homie's house, here and there, just like the homie Trout, rest in peace. I remember I used to spend the night at his house, and his mom would come in the morning like, what, that boy ain't got nowhere to live? Why he always staying over here?
Right.
So it's like you stay here, you stay there, and I'm staying with different people. And that's how a lot of people kind of became family to me. That's how I kind of gained like aunties and nephews and bros and things like that from just living with different people and embracing different people. Because Miss Price taught me to be a lovable person. But when I was 22, it was October the 31st, December the 31st, 1991.
Okay.
And I woke up that day, ironed my Dickie suit and, got ready. I was staying at the young homie Young Fool house and was getting ready to go outside. And for some reason, man, it's like something just took over me. I remember sitting on people's porches and, all night in the rain, sleeping in cars and sleeping in garages on concrete or wherever I could. And that particular day, it seemed like I just felt like, man, I was just living life, taking up space. I really feel like I had no purpose in life. And, I was having suicidal thoughts. And who I was in the neighborhood, I guess I had too much pride. And I was more of embarrassed to go and let my OGs know, how I was feeling. Because I don't know, I guess I didn't want people to look at me as being weak.
Nowadays, there's a lot of conversation about mental health. But
yes.
Did you not even really understand the idea of being depressed or?
I didn't understand it. I literally didn't understand it. And, I remember, grabbing a gun and, I put it to my head and, two of the little homies was there and they're like, man, what you doing, man? Like, man, what you doing inside? Like, man, why you playing with the gun? I said, I'm not playing, man. Like,
had you thought about it before this?
Yeah, many times. Many times. Many nights I've been out in the rain all night, just sitting on people's porches. I'm hustling. I'm doing everything possible that I could to stay afloat, to stay above water. But without that family love, that family structure, it just wasn't adding up to me.
And did you have no relationship with Miss Price after this, or
Miss
did
Price,
you stay in touch?
I stayed in touch, but she had got cancer. So Miss Price had got sick, and then she had got Alzheimer's. She passed, and she passed she passed in 92. So after she passed, it was like, I didn't care about nothing.
You had nothing grounding you.
That was it. That was it. I didn't care about nothing, and I grabbed the gun and, I put it to the side of my head, and I just let it go.
And, I don't even see a scar.
Oh, it's right there.
Okay. It's
permanent.
Not too significant.
It used to look worse.
It's hard to see.
It used to look like Frankenstein, but
right.
I guess I grew into it.
So what happened? The bullet just missed your brain, or where'd it
go? It went in, and I don't even know if they got it out, but I know I flatlined.
So it might be in your brain. You just don't even know.
I never asked, to be honest with you. And I do know I flatlined, and people that was calling the hospital to check on me, to see about me, they was telling them, we don't expect him to make it. So I was in a coma for a few days. And they was like, well, we don't expect him to make it. He's not going to make it. And, man, I had angels looking over me. And it just wasn't my time.
You were in a coma for how long?
I said a few days.
And you just end up waking up?
Yeah, I end up waking up. And after the gunshot, after it went off, I remember it getting, I kind of felt my body, I fell. And I remember it got like bright, like unbearable, to where I couldn't take the light, and I closed my eyes. And then it got dark, like pitch black. And I remember waking up again, and when I woke up, it was bright, and then my vision was blurry. And as I started coming to, I started looking, and I started realizing, like the light up there, I started realizing like I'm in the hospital. And next thing you know, I'm seeing people all over me, like doctors, and they scrambling around the room, like over me, like, oh, like he's alive. And do you know your name? Or what happened to you? Do you know where you know, the typical questions that they asked. And as I came to, like, I realized I was still in the hospital. And it's crazy because I kind of felt bad that I was still alive. You know, like, I guess I am a failure. I couldn't even kill myself. That's how I felt at that particular time. And when I got out the hospital, you know, a few people showed love, you know, did what they could for me. And it was a trip, because now I'm still living the same way I'm living, with a bandage on my head. I'm still in the streets. You know, my bro Wolf did what he could for me.
How long did it take before you were back to full health?
I say probably like about a month, 2 months before I was in full health. They had me seeing a psychiatrist. You know, because that was kind of like a thing that they recommended, like, you got to go see the psychiatrist, or we gonna put you in a mental institution. But to me, going to see a psych, really, to me, how I looked at it was a waste of my time.
Right.
Because we sitting here going over what I went through, what led me to that, which is not helping me get past it.
Right. But I mean, when I think about therapy, I mean, so much of like what I get value from in therapy is basically just talking about things that I already know are true, that I've already gone over in my head.
Thank you.
But being able to put it out there and say it to somebody and have them objectively take it in without having a dog in the fight, without having, you know, the reason why it's different to talk to your girlfriend or your mom or whatever, because you know they're not necessarily objective. You know, therapists, they're trained to be able to be a sounding board for you to get the shit off your chest. Did that ever start to make sense to you?
No, because my therapist, Cinequans, it was these capsules called Cinequans, 100 milligrams. This stuff would put an elephant to sleep.
And that's what they put you on?
And
as
that's
soon
what
as
they
you
put me on.
Oh,
So
wow.
I would take one of those and I would sleep for days. And one day I was like, you know what, I'm not taking this no more. I already tried to sleep permanently.
Yeah.
So it's not sleep what I need. And I was still living in the same situation. I had to make up my own mind to say, you know what, I can't do this no more. I got to get my life together. I got to get my life together. And that's what anyone that's going through something have to make up their mind and their heart to want to do better, to want to get their life together, because nobody can help you. And when I came out the hospital, and I remember being in the neighborhood, it was people, they laughed at me. Like, homies, idiot, you shot yourself in the head. Like, I didn't let it bother me, you know? I didn't let it bother me. Some people I want to flash on, but I'm like, what am I gonna gain from doing that?
Right.
So I started getting into wanting to do music. You know, I had used to do music in the 80s, 87, you know, me and my bro Gangster, who became a part of the Conrads, Mixmaster Spade, you know, cats like that. We used to go to the studio back in 87, but, you know, here it is in the 90s, and I'm like, you know what, I'm gonna start doing music. I'm gonna start helping people. I'm gonna take what I went through and educate others on it, so they don't ever have to walk down this road. You don't ever have to go into that dark spot, because this is not gonna lead you the right way. So let me show you how to stay into the light. And that's what I did with my music.
You think that music, like making music, really had that like therapeutic effect on you? Like you could really be honest and speak about how you felt?
How I felt, be honest about what I've been through. And since 1994, man, around the world, people have been loving my music, feeling my music. You name it, different countries, all around the world. Like the things I talk about, because everyone go through something.
Who were you listening to? Like, what was the music that you were influenced by the most, would you say?
I wouldn't really say I was influenced by music. I was more influenced by getting money and hustling, you know, and just staying solid. Because the OGs I grew up around, like, you would get something done to you if you wasn't real, if you wasn't solid. If you wasn't with that bullshit or doing bullshit, you got it brung to you.
Like, would you say that the level of gangster that some of these OGs that you grew up under would be like hard for people these days to even understand? Because it's just
motherfuckers are shit they pants. I'm really serious as fuck.
Wow.
You know, and all that rubbed off on me. That's why how I feel a certain type of way when I know a motherfucker is a buster. You know, I know a lot of these cats, man, that, you know, been around music or do music that I know personally that claim the city. Like, I know you. I don't remember you being over there. I didn't see you. You know, I didn't. But like I was saying, music was something that I could do. You know, I wasn't good in school.
Right.
I'm more smarter now and know more now than I ever learned in school.
Right.
And I just learned it from living. And music became, that to me became, that was my way. That was my way out. That was the way I can create a lane to help others.
Right.
You know, especially in the neighborhood. Cats used to see me heavy gang banging and doing dirt. And I used to tell them, like, don't do what I do better, be better.
Right.
Just like my little homies in the hood, when I used to catch them ditching, you know, back when we was younger, they had truant officers used to come to your house and when you didn't go to school, they knock on your door and, you know, ask why you're not there.
Right.
So I was that truant officer to my little homies in the hood. Like, nah, you know, I punched their ass up and, you know, take them back to school. And they were like, man, you gonna beat me up and take me back to school? Yeah. You shouldn't get an education. I didn't get one.
Right.
I didn't get one, and I don't want to see y'all not have one. And I used to tell them, instead of picking up a gun, pick up a mic. My nephew AD is one, because he was involved. He was on his way. He was living that life. I'm like, nephew, let me talk to you.
Really? So was he at risk of kind of going off the deep end as far as being out here?
Yeah, AD house, the house he lived in.
Because we sometimes the fans give him a hard time and act like, oh, maybe he's not really from.
Oh no, he really from over there.
Okay.
Oh yeah, he really from over there.
Right.
Oh yeah, all they got to do if they ever want to fly out here and come over there and see, they can come see for themselves. You know, his granny lived right there on Caldwell.
When did you tap in with him and realize he had talent?
Well, I've been knowing him all his life.
Because he talks about when he met Joe Moses was when he really started.
Yeah, I remember when he was working with Joe Moses.
Okay.
Yeah.
But you were tapped in with him before that?
Yeah.
Okay.
Oh yeah. I always gave him guidance.
Right.
You know, I paved the way for the neighborhood. You know, my neighborhood, I'm the reason that there's an outlet for this music. I was the one that vouched, you know, for everybody. And that's just keeping it authentic. But nephew is the one that did the footwork. He did his footwork.
That's very good to hear. We got to talk about him more, but I wanted to ask, where did the name come from? Like, at what point did you take on the name?
OG Cuicide?
Yeah.
Man, when I was saying 93.
Okay, so like right after the suicide.
Right after I started, my boy Lee started getting beats from Lee and the homie Kurt, who, you know, went to school with me, and we had a 4-track in the garage, in the studio. So we would record music and work on songs. And Final Exit was kind of like one of the first songs that I did, that I worked on. And Final Exit, it talked about, and how I came up with the concept of Final Exit. Final Exit is a book that I read, and it spoke about people that had a terminal illness with no cure for it. And the life I was living, I felt like I had a terminal illness, that there was no cure for it. I was abandoned, street life, everything I've been through. And I pretty much took the concept of that book and created an album out of it. And Final Exit was the first, like I said, the first song, because I talked about how I was abandoned, how I used to rob, steal, and do everything. And it living on the edge. You know, that's how I was living. I was living on the edge. And that song was one of the songs off the album that a lot of people gravitated to.
Were you signed?
I ended up getting signed with Leon Haywood, the great Leon Haywood, who Dre and them used his beat for G Thing.
Okay.
Old school R&B singer. We used to go to his studio, and Haywood was like, "Man, I really like your music. Let's do something with it." He opened his studio up to me, and we had a full-fledged studio. You know, that's when we was doing it on the 2-inch reels. You know, now it's Pro Tools, it's easier, but we had the reel to reel. And he embraced me, and you know, he became a godfather to me, and really showed me the ropes. He taught me the business. He taught me about contracts, so I could never get fucked over. Really embraced me on just musically. And with my first album, every instrument on there was live, played live. So he called people like from the old groups, Rolls Royce and all the different groups that was out in the 70s. And they actually came, and the drums was live, like claps. You know, we had people would go in the vocal booth and literally really clap.
Right.
You know, live sound. That album, it came out in the EP, maxi single is what they was calling it, in 94. It came out in 94, but the album came out in 95, and it hit the streets everywhere. And it used to feel good, man, to just be rolling in the car and rolling up on the side of people and, you know, hearing them playing my shit.
Right. Did you almost sign to Eazy-E at some point?
Yeah, I used to, I wrote music for Eazy.
How did you even meet him?
Oh, Eazy was dating my OG, my big bro, old man. He was dating their sister,
Okay.
Carmen. He was dating her, their sister Carmen.
Was he dating her, or because
They was together.
I heard
No.
he was dating a lot of people.
Well, they was together.
Okay.
They was together. I don't know what else he did, but I know for sure they was together because he was in the neighborhood all the time.
For sure.
Oh, yeah.
And what if I had asked you at that time, what is your opinion of Eazy-E?
Man, Eazy was solid, man. He was a solid dude. He was a hustler. Eazy really tried to help people.
And he was really respected on a street level in LA and whatnot?
I mean, he was a hustler.
Okay.
You know, he wasn't really like, you know, a gang member like that, but he was definitely was a hustler.
Okay.
You know, from the east side of Compton. Solid dude, man. Nothing but love for him.
Right.
Nothing but love.
And so he was just dating this girl, and then how does that turn into him hearing your music and whatnot?
Oh, well, old man, my big bro, OD, you know, had let him hear some music, and he was like, you know, this is tight. You know, so we used to chop it up, and he was like, "Man, come to the radio station." So I started going up to the Ruthless Radio Show, and from there we would go to the studio right there in Torrance that he had, and you know, I would go up there and you know work on music and as well.
And so, how's the conversation go? Like, write for me.
What I had did, it kind of started. It really kind of started with that. I had wrote some lyrics. I had wrote some songs, and I had my big bro OD give them to him.
Okay.
You know,
and it was it was an open secret that he wasn't writing his raps?
Well, everybody knew he wasn't writing his raps.
Okay.
But eventually he started writing, you know? But he had people write. Man, it's a lot of cats out here got people writing for him.
Right. It's just interesting how, you know, these days people act like, oh, like so-and-so doesn't write their own songs, and they act like it's this huge betrayal of like hip-hop history, when in reality, I think it probably was pretty well widespread at any point in rap history, right?
Oh, yeah. Yeah. Oh, yeah. He most definitely put Compton on the map, you know? And you can't leave out, you can never leave out Mixmaster Spade. You can never leave out Mixmaster Spade.
Okay.
Tidy T, he had the battle rhyme out. You know, they was like the first ones to hit radio.
Right.
And then when Eazy came out, then WA came out, it was next level.
Right.
That was it. Internationally, worldwide, they took over.
When you were around Eazy, was he already beefing with Dre?
No.
No.
Oh, no.
He's still on good terms with him at this point.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, everything was still solid.
And so he heard he liked the songs that you wrote, and he recorded them, or?
I don't know if he ever used them,
Okay.
but I most definitely presented them to him.
And then he's also signed you to do music for him, or you didn't?
No, he never signed me. We was getting ready we was in process of him putting the contract together for me to sign to Ruthless, and then everything happened.
With him passing away.
Yes.
Wow. So that was how much it crept up on him. Like he didn't even he was working on signing you one day, and then all of a sudden he's super sick the next day.
Well, I wouldn't say the next day.
Right.
Yeah,
But
the next day.
rapidly.
Well, over a period of time.
Because I guess during that time period, it's not like these days where there's all these medications that you take for AIDS and stuff. He probably wasn't even on medication, I guess, or I don't know.
I don't know. I don't know that deep into the personal life, but
Right.
I will say one thing: he was a solid dude, hands down.
Did that deter your musical ambitions, or?
Oh no, I mean I always continued to work on music, kept putting music out. I've toured to Japan, I was working with my bro Big Jess and Droop, Executive Entertainment, and man, that's when I went to Japan, and that was in 2000.
Okay.
I put out an album called Wonder Why. Had my bro King T on there, Big Psych from Thug Life, Drayster, BG Knockout, and many others.
Nice.
Oh yeah,
Japan, I mean, it's like another fucking planet when you're out there.
love it. Just got to get used to that 12-hour flight.
It's crazy. It's like the downtown, like Tokyo area. It's like you're in a fucking giant slot machine. There's just the brightest lights everywhere. It's fucking mind blowing.
It's different.
Yeah.
It's definitely different.
What do you think of the food?
I had to get used to it.
Yeah, to say the least, for sure.
Oh yeah, I had
You
to
don't
get
know what
used
the
to
fuck
it.
to order, and once you get it, it's like kind of confusing what it might taste like. Yeah.
Man, that was my first time seeing a fish fillet with a lot of extra skin on it.
Nice. Okay, so when it comes to you and your street affiliations, like how do you think about the role that you want to have in that community? Because it sounds like the gang stuff for you was probably a pretty negative influence early on, but you still seem committed to it and that you want it to be a positive thing.
Well, I look at it now, as I'm older. I got 5 grandkids. I got 4 kids, 5 grandkids, and I look at life now, man, on more of empowering people, inspiring people. Especially a lot of people look up to me. A lot of people look up to me around the world, just off of what I've been through. Because there's a lot of people that go through mental issues. And when they hear about me and they either hear my music or they watch my story or read something about me and they reach out to me and tell me how it uplifts them and it inspires them. But what I also let them know is me getting those messages motivates me. I've talked many people out of committing suicide.
Really?
From all around the world, many a times on regular basis, all ages. Just the other day, there was a young cat, man, 14 years old, that reached out to me. Someone else had reached out to me and said he's talking about he want to kill himself. And I'm like, why? Like, can you give him my number and have him to call me? And she said, I don't think he'll do it. He might be scared. I said, well, can you put us in a group chat? And she did. And I spoke to him, and he said he had a friend that he'd been knowing since October, and he really thought he thought she really cared about him. And then he found out that she didn't. Pretty much that whole time she kind of lied to him. And we live in a time now where emotions is high. Emotions is high. When someone go through something in these days, man, I see it all the time where the first thing a person think about is want to take their life.
But I know multiple people have killed themselves over that exact dynamic of like finding out your girl's cheating or
Yes.
finding out that the baby that you've been taking care of for the past few years is not yours.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. And my thing is I use what I've been through to show them you can make it. But you have to want to make it. You have to want to get up and do better. You have to want to take whatever you're going through in life and focus on yourself and focus on making your life better. Nobody can assist you. Nobody can help you. They can give you all the advice in the world. But if you don't do it yourself, that's like standing by a brick wall and telling a brick, I need you to jump from out the wall and walk that way. It's never going to do it. But a person got to understand, I don't care what age you is, life gets better. I'm living proof. Life gets better. Sometimes people don't realize they're not going through a bad of situation that they really think that they're going through.
Do you find yourself, sometimes I feel like this happens to me where I'll be hearing somebody talk about how hard their life is.
Yes.
And I'll be thinking to myself, having kind of, been through the ringer in a lot of ways. And I haven't even been through a lot of the worst shit. I haven't done prison time or anything like that. But like, sometimes you'll just hear someone talking about how hard what they're going through is. And you're like, if you think that that's as bad as it gets, then you are so goddamn lucky right now.
Yeah. But a lot of people don't have guidance.
Or they have no experience. They have nobody to tell them that this is not that big a deal.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly. Because I get a lot of people that hit me up from different places that be like, man, where we at and where we come from, we don't have an OG like you to give us the advice that you give. So I look forward to it. I really look forward to it, man. Waking up and just giving somebody a word of advice, just encouraging somebody to want to live. Because every day above ground is a blessing. Life is amazing, but to some, they may not think that. Like, I get people contact me from third world countries, and it's terrible. I get people contact me from Haiti, Nigeria, and it's bad there.
Yeah.
And just a word of encouragement from a dude that grew up in Compton, California, talking to somebody from on the other side of the world, and encourage them and inspire them to want to carry on and continue living life.
You hear from the No Jumper fans?
All the time. All the time. When you coming on the jumper, man, when we seen you on No Jumper, when you spoke to House Phone, man, I feel like you spoke to me.
Oh, that must have been a moment, huh?
Yes.
I'm sure a lot of people tapped in.
A lot of people tapped in. They did. They really did, and they still do. Because some be just seeing it for the first time.
Right.
And it be so many people that, like young cats, be like, man, I ain't smoked in a while, man. I was doing coke, I was drinking, and since I seen when you spoke to House Phone, man, I feel like you were speaking to me.
Right.
When I watched that interview, and I watched it several times, people say they've cried when they seen that interview, and it make them look at life different. I even had a cat, man, hit me up and says, "Pops look up to me."
Wow. What did you see going on with House Phone at that moment that made you feel like you had to say something?
I could tell he was battling demons, and he was in denial. And he didn't want to admit it because I could tell he got people around him, but he don't have that big brother structure. He don't have that person that's going to get in his ass. I don't care who a person is, how old they are. If I see something that I could give them some advice about, I'm going to do it. And when I was over there that day, and I just happened to be here, and y'all was talking, and y'all got on that conversation, and that's when Nephew AD was like, look at Unc, what he been through, and y'all brung me on. And House Phone is a smart and intelligent dude, but sometimes people have to be reminded how smart and how intelligent they are. It happens. That's just life,
It's crazy because the city he's dealing with now, where he was in the fucking motorized cart when we were in Vegas over the weekend, and it all basically comes back to him not having health insurance because he's dealing with the diabetes shit. And it's like, we all just want to see him fucking really get serious about his health. And like, I kind of look at him as like, he's got so much talent. He's got so much potential. And I don't want to act like he's not like living up to it, because he's been doing a great job podcasting, having his own show and everything like that. But then meanwhile, I see him put a lot of effort into things that will give him short-term pleasure, like the fact that there was a fucking girl waiting at the hotel for him when we got to Vegas. He'll be fucking having 10 different girls that he's fucking texting or whatever while we're out there. But then meanwhile, having to go through the bullshit of like figuring out health insurance so that he can get consistently, monitored and whatever. I mean, that is like very challenging for him, and I relate to that 100% because that's me too. Like, I didn't have health insurance for years and years because I was just like, fuck it, I ain't filling that shit out. I don't care. And I mean, we all just want to see him get more serious about his health and everything, but it's kind of hard because it's like, You know, it's how do you make somebody really want to, you know, take care of something when they don't seem so motivated?
Key word, you can't make no one do nothing.
Right.
You know what I mean? Unless you got a pistol on them. But in reality,
Maybe that's the solution. Put the burner to house phone.
everybody have to grow up on their own.
Right.
Just like me. I ain't always been who I am. I've always been a solid person. I've always cared about people. I'll give somebody my last. I don't care. I'll give them my last. But everybody got to find it on their own. Maybe something got to happen. And sometimes it's like that. Something have to happen in a person's life to make a person make that decision for the better. Other than that, people will remain making those decisions for the worse. And on a second note, not everyone will grow up. That's just life. Not everyone will grow up.
Yeah. And that, to be honest, that's kind of the deal with him, is that he's super funny. He's fun to be around. He's
Talent.
He's the life of the party. So my whole time knowing him, he would always have a girl who's down to drive him around. He's always got somebody that's down to buy him dinner or whatever. So he's
Doing
kind of
something right.
right, because he's just, people like him and shit.
Yes.
So he's able to sort of like jug his way through a lot of these situations, and it's kind of like enabled him to not have to grow up in certain ways, you know?
But it's not too late. He will. He's young. He's like, what, 28, 29?
Yeah,
He's still young. I remember being 28, 29. Man, still out there.
Yeah. And to be fair, with the health scare, it's not like he's partying like he used to, so that's good. But it's like he just has to get like very proactive with the health shit. But I think he's figuring it out with the health insurance and everything.
And all the support, you know, especially here at No Jumper, man. It's so much love and support here, man. Like when I walk in here, man, on Tuesdays, like it's nothing but good energy and good vibes when you walk in here. It's like I look forward to being here, to coming here. Just number love for everybody, man. The team, like the structure, how it's put together, how it's built. Like, oh yeah, you're doing the right thing, man. You give an opportunity to a lot of people, and that's good. And you're gonna continue to be blessed for that.
Appreciate that for sure. Yeah, but okay, this is the one thing I'm curious about though. Is like it would seem, I would think that maybe somebody like you at some point would just kind of decide to sort of renounce the gang affiliation or whatever. But you seem like determined to continue the tradition, but make it a positive thing.
I mean, I'm not active.
Right.
I'll never forget where I came from.
Right.
But, you know, me now, I'm more on, I go to the hood to try to help the homies out the hood.
But you felt an obligation to AD because of the fact that he's from where he's from.
Well, I wouldn't call it an obligation. That's family.
Right.
Just like Ski, that's family. You know what I mean? Yeah, I'm always, well, if you want to use the terminology obligated, then I'm always be obligated to be there for the people I love.
Right.
Mandatory.
But it's a blood thing? You're actually family? Or is it just because you're from the same area, you feel like it's family?
Well, to me, blood make you related. Loyalty make you family.
Right.
And anybody that show loyalty, that's family to me. Straight, come on, I come from being a bandit. So there was, I was abandoned by blood. So there was no loyalty.
Right.
So anybody that show loyalty, I'm gonna show loyalty back.
When you look at yourself joining a gang or being in the streets like that, was that you trying
Didn't join, I grew up
Right.
in the hood.
Was that you trying to find a family where you didn't have one when you look back at it now?
Well, that was my family.
Right.
You know, that was family. Coming up in the hood. You know, that's family, man. That's, you know, from shooting marbles to, you know, hanging out with the OGs while they out there drinking old English and, you know, smoking weed, hustling, chilling. And like I said, that life, man, it just really fascinated me.
Right. I know people who have, you know, relatively minor issues really with their parents, and it can still be like a very big source of trauma and, you know, stress for them, even as adults in their 30s or 40s, where it's still like, you know, issues from their childhood have like big impacts on their mental health. And it just occurs to me that like you've been through the most extreme version of that. Like, how do you think about the fact that you were abandoned as an adult, and how much do you still feel like you're processing and dealing with that?
I mean, I still think about it. And what bothers me the most is when I see it happening around the world. When I see it happening to others, I could relate. You see it on TV. You see it from people I know. In general, you see it. Like, being abandoned is never going nowhere. That's the key thing. It's never going nowhere. But what need to be done is, there's so many kids in the system. And once they turn a certain age, then they're released out to the streets. Like, okay, you're an adult now. We're going to turn you out into the world.
It's kind of shocking that you even were able to figure it out, because how the fuck is a kid with no support system at all supposed to navigate this world? I mean,
I wanted it. You got to want it. That's just like a person that plays sports. They want it. They own it every day. You see them practicing every day. When they're not at practice, they're practicing. That was me with my life. I wanted it. So I practice bettering myself every day amongst people that hated on me, envied me, through backstabbers. Because people close to you will see you growing, leveling up, and it's crazy because they start to envy you. They start to hate on you, but they fail to realize is we both have the same 24 hours in a day. But what I'm gonna do with my 24 hours, I'm gonna make the best of it. I'm not gonna let the day go by and I haven't worked towards progressing. Even now, you know, in my life now at 52 years old, every day I wake up, I look forward to doing something to make something better. I'm building a record label right now, you know, with my son, Lil Sai, with my little bro, IMB Izzy. I'm building a record label. You know, my little nephew, man, BJ Dallas, he's working on music. Choice Sincere. It's like you got to continue to grow in life. Without growth, then there's nothing. And me to still be alive right now after all the things I've been through. I got a 223 round in my back.
Oh, really?
I've been hit, yeah.
How many times you been shot?
Twice. And then plus, you know, my own,
right? You
know, personal. Took a shot at myself, but
in your back though, like
yeah, it's there by my spine. It was too close.
How bad did it fuck you up?
It ripped my intestines in half completely.
Oh, what year are we talking?
This was 2007.
Holy, where were you?
In the neighborhood.
Just
it wasn't on no banging shit or anything. We was chilling. We was getting ready to leave, and I remember one of the homies saying, "What was that in the field right there?" I had just walked out the house, and my son was there too. He was in the room playing the video game, and as I'm walking out the door, one of the homies like, "Man, look, who's that walking through the field?" And as I look up, all you hear is and I remember feeling the bullet hit me. I'm like, damn.
You only got hit once though.
Yeah, and one of the homies out there, you know, the homie Melvin was out there. The bullet went through his back, came out his chest. He lost a lung, but he survived.
Wow.
I survived, and I mean, well, obviously, I'm sitting here talking to you.
Did you have beef at that time? Is there any reason?
I had no beef, you know, but that's just how it is in Compton or any other city where if it's on, it's on.
But you were basically.
We was chilling.
Were you a random person to this person?
Well,
or was this...
No, it was like 8 of us out there.
Right.
So it was nobody in particular, like, directed to, just cats. Oh, okay, we see somebody hanging right there. And
this is, I mean, do you know who did it?
I mean, what's the word? Classified information.
Interesting. But we could probably assume that somebody from an enemy territory.
Well, classified information.
Okay. Damn. And so how long were you in the hospital?
If I told you the story, you know what I mean?
Maybe we could do that off camera.
Yeah, we could do that off camera.
Damn.
Yeah.
So, how long were you in the hospital from that?
A week?
That's it.
We came home with that California zipper.
Really?
You know, anybody, when you get shot in the stomach, you know, you get staples from here to,
You got that?
yeah. And we call that California zipper.
Wow.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
How do you feel when you look at that?
Like, fuck, I could have died. You know, because it was holes in the house. Like, this was a 223 round. And it was crazy because when I got up, all while the shooting is going, all I could think about is my son's in the house. Oof. He 10 years old. My son in the house. And it seemed like they was getting closer. It seemed like they was getting closer because the shit, it got louder. The shooting got louder. And all I could think about is, damn, my son in the house, my son in the house. And once the busing stopped, I got up and I instantly, you know, went to the house. And my Uncle Glenn was there.
So you could walk.
Yeah, I got down only when the shooting, but afterwards, yeah, I stood up. Because like I said, the homie, when the paramedics came, he was laying down. And, I told him to help him.
Right.
Help the homie. And, you know, the few of the homies was like, man, who hit? I'm like, I'm hit. And I remember the homie like, man, Sizzle, you ain't hit. And I, like, nigga, I'm hit. Uh-huh. When I lift my jacket up and like everybody's eyes I was too angry to lay down.
Wow.
I was more mad than anything. And like I said, my son was in there. So when I walked in the door, I told my Uncle Glenn, I said, I'm hit. And I told him, I said, make me a promise. And he was like, what's that? I said, if I die, make sure you take care of my son. And make sure you let him know I loved him. And I went in the room, and my son was standing there with the controller in his hand. I had just brought him back from getting some food. And he was standing there, like, stunned with the controller in his hand. And I hugged him. It was like, everything good, son. Everything good. Like, you good. Go ahead, sit back down. Like, I'm going to go back out here. Paramedics everywhere, police everywhere. And, you know, I called this mom, you know, Latifah Stone. I called this mom and I said, because at this time we wasn't getting along. Mm-hmm. And I said, I'm hit. And she like, don't play games with me. What you mean you hit? I'm shot. I'm like, I'm not playing. Get over here and come get our son. And she came over there. And when she told my son, like, your dad got shot. And he like, my dad ain't got shot. Like, my dad just came in the house and talked to me. Your dad got shot. And, you know, everybody came to the hospital. And that's when he realized that I was shot because I didn't tell him I was shot. And, wow. and by the grace of God, and I thank God, he wasn't shot because I wouldn't be sitting here talking to you. I'd be in prison doing forever, for sure.
If what?
My son would have got hit or died.
Jesus, yeah.
Definitely. We wouldn't be having this conversation.
I know that kind of thing is like fairly ordinary in LA, but it's still like hard to even process the fact that this is the sort of thing that like people do to each other, that this is the level of cruelty that people perpetrate upon each other.
I mean, man,
as common as it is, it's still like sometimes you hear something like that and it just it's hard for me to even process how people do this to each other.
It's life, man. It's a lifestyle. That's so we grew up amongst.
Yeah.
You know, what else was there? You know, some made it out playing sports. Some made it out as big drug dealers. Some didn't make it out. Some made it out fast. Some made it out slowly. Some is still there.
But I mean, that kind of shit of, you know, just, I don't know. Obviously, I'm not in on all the specifics of it, but this just like whole notion of people from certain areas just basically have to kill other people from other areas to get respect. It's just
I wouldn't really say just on a respect thing, like somebody kill one of your loved ones.
Right.
I mean, people not gonna let it go.
Yeah. And I mean, certainly, like,
it's like a tit for tat.
In isolation, you can understand, like, oh, well, this happened because this happened, and I guess I get it.
You have to come from it.
Yeah.
To sincerely understand it, you have to really grew up in it and really been there.
Right.
Like, it's hearing about it and actually living it It's kind of like, it's a difference. Okay, yeah, man, I heard that story. Oh, yeah, I've heard about that. But actually growing up in it, being a part of it, and this is all you know. You don't know nothing else. This is all you know, hands down.
But when you start mentoring a kid or talking to a young person now, is that usually at the forefront of your mind that you want to help them steer clear of this lifestyle?
Yes. Yes, I definitely do. I definitely do. You know, like my fam, KO sitting right there. I be on his head. You getting older. Let's do different. Let's do things different.
Right.
And that's what I tell everybody. Let's do things different now.
Yeah.
You know, this is how I look at life. This is how I look at life, Adam. 5 years from now, 10 years from now, 15 years from now, I want to still be living good. I want to still be living successful.
Right.
Some people can't see past the curb. I live my life and structure my life like, okay, I got money now. Am I going to still have money 5 years from now? If I'm not doing what I need to do now to prepare for when that time come, then I'm not going to grow. I'm going to still be stuck here. 10 years from now, I want to still be in the same boat, same situation. Like I said, I got kids, you know, my daughter Destiny, my daughter Tyler, my son, my junior, you know, DJ, and my daughter Anaya. Then I got 5 grandkids, you know, D3, Miliana, King, Rose, and Iyani. And
It's a lot to keep track of.
Yeah, and you know,
You need a cheat sheet.
when my son was younger, you know, I was still heavy into gangbanging. You know, my 2 oldest daughters is from a different relationship, and then my son and my daughter Anaya, same mom. And when my son was young, I wasn't the greatest father in the world. I was still heavy in the streets. I would put the streets before them.
Really?
Yeah, because I was so caught up into the lifestyle, you know? And that happens to people. They be so caught up in the lifestyle when you should be over here doing this, you're not, because you're so caught up. And all I ever known was the streets. I was never taught how to be a father. And it's something that I have to learn to be. And I made my son a promise that I may not have been the greatest father when you were younger, but I'm going to make you a promise. And can we make an agreement and a promise? And I told him, I promise to be an amazing grandfather to D3 and to Miliana. And that's a promise. And that's a promise I'm going to always live up to. Mandatory.
Yeah, does that in some way feel like that's your opportunity for you to make things right? You know, you had this like unspeakably horrible thing happen to you. It's like somehow you can right the wrong through at least changing this tradition in some way?
Yes. I mean, because I look at life, I'm here for a reason. You know, a lot of people may not believe in God, but God kept me here for a reason. I'm here for a reason. I'm here for a purpose. And I used to think music was my purpose. Yeah, I make hell of a music. I make music for the world. They love it. It helps them. Music is therapy. It's medicine. But what I realized and found out what my true calling was me actually speaking verbally to people.
Really?
Yes, it has more meaning than music.
When did you figure this out?
I figured this out 10 years ago. 10 years ago.
What kind of speaking were you doing at that time?
Going to schools. Kevin Cause is a gentleman who committed suicide, and his family reached out to me, and every year they would have the Kevin Cause 5K run and walk, and I would go speak. And one year I spoke at Kevin Cause, and the day I attempted suicide, the actual paramedic that came on the call was there.
Wow.
And after I spoke and I, walked off from the mic, he walked to me and he said, Muhammad, his name's Muhammad. He has his own ambulance in the city of Compton too. He said, I was there that day. I came out. He was younger, but he said, I came out on that call. We took you to the hospital that day, and he remembered me.
Wow. When you look back at that version of yourself that wanted to take their own life, how do you feel looking back at that version of yourself? And what would you say to that person now?
I would say, I'm going to start with, I have no regrets in life. None.
Not even that?
Not even that. Because everything I went through made me who I am today. Had I not went through any of these things or been amongst this lifestyle, I don't know who I would be. So that's what led me to who I am today. That's what led me to what I'm doing today. So I have no regrets. But to anybody in the world that ever consider that, please don't. Life is better. There's nothing in this world that can go on in a person's life, that can happen in a person's life that would make them want to take their life. Nothing. Absolutely nothing that would make a person want to take their life. And that's what I let everyone know, no matter your age. Because people consider suicide nowadays young. I've read a story some years ago where a kid, 7 years old, was being bullied at school. He committed suicide, 7 years old. He haven't even had a chance to live life or know life. And he committed suicide. So suicide don't discriminate. It don't care how old you are. It don't care what color your skin is. None of that matters to suicide. It happens. It goes through people's minds.
Right.
Because like I said, we live in an emotional time. So when people are going through emotion, some people are heavy drinkers. Some people are doing drugs. And they feel like they're doing this because their life is bad. Oh, well, forget it, man. I'm going to just do all these drugs and take the pain away. I'm going to drink all this liquor and take the pain away. But what about when you're sober? The pain is still there. To take the pain away, you got to look at your life and say, well, what is going on in my life that's holding me back? Because what's holding you back in your life are the things that's keeping you from being the person that each and every one can be. Successful. They can better their life. So if they cut out the things that's holding them back, because all of you can stop you.
Right.
I tell people that all the time. All of you can stop you. And without someone encouraging them and inspiring them to that, then what do they have? They have no hope. They have no faith. So I know I'm here for a reason and I'm here for a purpose. I can't save everybody. I know that. I understand that. But if I could just save one person, I know my purpose and my reason of life. I'm doing what I'm supposed to do. I'm doing what I'm still here to do.
The opportunity, life is the opportunity.
Yes.
Every day, you know? And it's like, that's the most important thing to try to get through anyone's skull, I think, if you're trying to convince them not to kill themselves, is, yes, your life is hard right now. Yes, things are not great. But you still wake up every day with at least the chance to make things better. And if you pull that trigger, then you're closing the door on that. And having the opportunity to improve things is always going to be better. When you pull that trigger, you're closing the door on ever being able to experience anything ever again.
True.
I mean, that's what anytime I've really felt horrible, the worst depression I've ever been in, that's always what's kind of kept me from even really thinking about it.
But see, a lot of people don't even know they have opportunity.
Yeah.
A lot of people don't know they have talent.
But what do you say to someone, this is hypothetical, like when we have that conversation about somebody who raises a kid for a couple of years and then finds out that it's not theirs, and to them this is like they've created their whole world. They've gone years of having these emotions about this child, and then to find out that they've been lied to, and that I mean, that for sure, do not commit suicide. But when I've heard that story, I think that's the kind of situation that would test the person with the strongest resolve.
Not just that situation, but this is my thing. You love this kid all this time.
Yeah.
Okay. You found out the kid wasn't yours.
Yeah.
So you mean to tell me you finna stop loving this kid? Now you're being selfish. Yeah. You want to know who suffers? The kid.
Yeah.
The kid hurts more than the person finding out, oh man, all this time I've been taking care of this kid 10 years and now I find out it's not mine. So you're just gonna walk away? The kid. Now the kid is considering suicide because they're hurting more than the person that just found out it's not his child. You gotta still love that kid. You have to. You can't walk away from that kid. You gotta still embrace him. Okay, it happened. It happened. It happened. But don't turn your back on the kid at all.
For sure. When you think of what the good life is for you at this point,
yes,
what really is worth living for?
Yes.
What do you try to fill your life with, especially being that you made it through so much and you've lived in terrible circumstances and been through all kinds of horrible shit? What do you feel like life is all about now?
I really feel like life is about being successful. And if you can help someone, help them. A lot of people are selfish. A lot of people will become successful, especially in the music. People will become successful and close the door on everybody. But all during the time while the grind is going, oh, when I do this, when I make it, watch, it's on, I'm gonna look out and keep your word. That's my thing. People don't live by their word no more like they used to. When I was coming up, if your word and you didn't keep your word, you got your teeth knocked out your mouth. Now, people kind of, brush it off, and be like, oh, okay, forget it is what it is.
It's like you're supposed to get along with everybody. If you spaz out on somebody, you're going to be looked at like you're a fucking tweaker or whatever.
He just hating. Just like a lot of people hate when I speak my mind, but I speak the truth. I speak from my nuts, and I mean it. I speak from my gut. I don't bite my tongue for nobody. If I feel some way, that's how I feel. I'm going to let it be known.
Really? Has that got you in trouble over the years?
I put it like this. I don't get into trouble, but if a person want it, I'll bring it.
Right.
And I'll bring it fast. And then I'm going to, get home and, go watch Coco Melon with my granddaughter, Miliana, Yeah.
That Coco Melon's crazy.
Yeah.
I love that shit.
I mean, that's, I don't look for trouble no more. I'm old school, OG. Like, my demeanor is, I say what's up to everybody.
Right.
Say what's up to everybody.
When you look at somebody like AD and, obviously the music was a big outlet for him to get his personality out there to the world and stuff, but now you're seeing him do the podcasting thing and having a real fan base doing that. He's doing Twitch and everything like that as well. And then, bringing other people in like T-Rel and shit who are from, somewhat similar circumstances.
Yeah.
How does that make you feel? What do you think seeing like the new generation of people basically having like opportunities to make careers for themselves off their personality, not necessarily through the music even?
My nephew will tell you, man, AD will tell you all the time. I tell him I'm proud of him. I'm proud of him because I've seen the growth. And one thing I also let him know is he's never changed. No matter how high up he gets, he's still AD. That's still nephew. He haven't changed. He don't act different. He don't switch up. And that's the key thing. Some people reach a certain peak in a career and they start feeling themselves. Don't let your ego be the thing that destroy you.
Yeah.
Because a lot of people that they I'm on now. Like, I don't need nobody. Didn't nobody help me? Everybody had some help.
Oh yeah.
Like, come on. But people forget because they get to feeling themselves, that ego, the head too big to be in the room.
Right.
Nephew ain't never done that.
As soon as you hear somebody start saying that they're self-made, all you got to ask them is, did you pick where you were born? Did you pick who your parents are?
Yeah.
Did you pick where you went to school? Did you pick how well taught and well fed and well clothed you were as a kid? Because the reality is that nobody chooses their fucking circumstances.
Yes.
And so anyone, yes, you can pat yourself on the back if you've accomplished something for yourself in life, for sure. But don't delude yourself into thinking that you're actually self-made, because so much of this shit is a fucking roll of the dice,
It is. It definitely is. It is. It really is. I was just telling my bro Epidemic that the other day. Like, we put so much, especially me, put a lot of time and money into music and into helping people with their careers. Because it's about seeing people successful. I don't want to be the only person in the mall. I want us all.
Right.
You know what I mean? That's just how I look at life. Not everybody look at life like that. Some people, instead of the team, don't call yourself a boss if you're the only person eating. And that's what go on in these days. We got a lot of people saying they bosses, but everybody around you, what position do they have? Why they not bosses too? Why you not helping them grow into becoming their own boss? Each one teach one. I still live by that. That's how we grew up. Each one teach one. I'm at a point where I can help some people, with their music or whatever. I'm gonna do that and help them get in a position where they can help some people. Man, you pass it down. Pass it down. That's how it go.
Do you get just as much pleasure from teaching as you do from doing things yourself? Like, I feel like a lot of people, I hear that from people who have really kind of seen a lot, done a lot, and they kind of get to the point where they figure out that the thing that makes them the happiest is helping others.
And it does. It really do. I'm tired of doing music.
Really?
I do it for the passion and my overseas fans.
Overseas in particular?
Well, definitely my overseas fans all around the world, because a couple years ago I was like, man, I'm retiring from music. I put out an album, and OGs Are Forever. I put that album out, and I was like, that's it. It's the last album I'm releasing. And my bro, The Native, Voodoo Nation, LLC, put that album out. And I said, this is it. I ain't doing no more music. And wow, internet went crazy, especially overseas. What you mean? How you not putting out no more music? That don't even make sense. OG, you tripping. It got to the point to where I'm like, all right, I'm back in the studio.
Right.
I'm back working on a new album. I got a new album coming out, man. And this particular album right here that I'm working on, it means a lot to me, because I put a hell of a lot of heart into this one. Like Miss Price, I got a song called Phone Call to Heaven on this album that it means the world to me. And days, sometime, man, I'll go to myself, man. Like, people think because who I am, I may don't have stress on me sometime. I may don't have emotions on me sometime. There's days that I go to myself and I'll sit and I'll shed tears. And I'm not ashamed to admit it. I'll shed tears. I'd rather let it out than leave it in, because that's what led me to suicide before. Not saying I consider that now, because it don't ever cross my mind.
Right.
But Miss Price was a person that, no matter what I was going through, right or wrong, is somebody I could go sit down and talk to and tell her. Even if I did something wrong, I used to tell her.
Right.
Sometimes she'd be blown away by it. Boy, you crazy? But I would open up to her.
Right.
And, sometimes I sit, man, and, I have dreams about Miss Price. And sometimes I sit, and the dreams that I have, be so real. Like I really sitting there with her, talking to her. They be so real. Real.
She showed you love when you didn't even know what that is.
Didn't know what love was. She taught me love. She taught me to love people, because people used to come to the house and she would feed anybody, practical stranger. Didn't have to know him. And I used to wonder, like, man, this a bum off the street. Like, why he had to? I ain't even ate yet. Why he sitting at the table? But I didn't understand it back then.
Right.
But as I got older, I seen it, and I say, I see Miss Price living through me, because I look out for homeless people all the time. And I'm not the cat that's gonna hand a homeless person some money and pull my phone out and post it. What am I doing that for? I'm not trying to humiliate the person.
Right.
I want to help them. I know what I did. I don't have to show social media. I do it all the time. Miss Price taught me to have that heart. It's like sometimes I see her living through me. Like the things I do, I'd be like, wow, that's something Miss Price would have did.
I mean, you've had a hard life, but can you imagine how much harder it would have been if you didn't have someone like her?
For real. I totally agree and believe that. I probably would have remained in the system, because her home was a temporary home.
Right.
She kept foster kids also. And it was, like I said, temporary. So we're going to drop the kid off, and we'll figure out what we're going to do if they're going to go back to the parents once the court make a decision. And she went through the steps, and nobody wanted me. Nobody wanted to come back and get me. It was like, well, we don't know what to do with this one. I'm going to adopt him. I want to keep him. She went through the steps. She did everything she could, and she adopted me. And she became my legal mother from the courts. And she loved me. She used to tell me how when she first got me, like 90% of my body was covered in eczema.
Really?
Yes, I was bad. Rashes everywhere, like from my neck down to my feet. And she used to, and back then she used to put socks on my hand, because when people had eczema, they used to put, in those days, they used to put socks on their hands so they wouldn't scratch.
Right.
And I never knew how they used to put socks on my hand and then put rubber bands around it, because I used to scratch till I bleed, because my whole body was just everywhere. It was just covered, and I'm talking about constantly itching. And she took care of me, and it went away. It went away.
How do you think about drugs at this point in your life? Because when I hear that story about your biological mother abandoning you and shit, it's like, it's drugs turn people into monsters.
Okay, but you're gonna really
not to give them an out by any means.
But that's where I was going with it.
Right.
Again, I'll say, kids don't ask to be here.
Yeah.
So, you mean to tell me they chose drugs over me? So y'all loved drugs more than you loved your kids? So maybe you should have had drugs as a baby and not me. Because that's an excuse. Oh, I hear it all the time. Oh, well, they was on drugs. They didn't know no better. They was on drugs. I don't want to hear that shit. That's an excuse. That's an excuse.
It's an excuse that's only acceptable if your bare minimum that you expect from a person just existing in society is that low. That if that's all that we expect, if we expect so little of people that we expect them to not even take care of their kids, I mean, it's just like, do you have a hard time with it when I'm sure you've had friends over the years who at some point more or less abandon their kid, like let the girl take care of it, they're doing something else, like is it hard for you to reconcile with that?
Well, I kind of tell people like the same thing, like, man, kids don't, man, I ain't dealing with her, so I forget the kid too. Like, how does that work? Okay, y'all not dealing with each other, but that's still your child. Your child has your last name.
Yeah.
And you're just gonna turn your back? Like, it's not how life works. Some people block their own blessings from things they do.
Right.
You know, definitely block their own blessings from things that they do.
Yeah. I mean, I know I'm kind of green to the whole thing because I'm a brand new dad. It's just like impossible for me to imagine.
Hey, but I see you doing a good job. Keep up the good work.
Appreciate
You're
it.
doing a good job, and Parker's gonna be good.
Yeah.
I'm serious, and I'm not just saying that to say it. Like,
Yeah.
you're doing an amazing job. Just keep being an amazing father. That's all I could tell you.
Appreciate
I mean, everything you do for your family.
Yeah.
You know, and some people don't live like that.
Yeah.
Some people are everything they do for themselves.
Yeah.
You're not a selfish person.
I mean, I'm lucky that I didn't have a kid until the point where I was ready, where I was at the point in my life where I was gonna, I think about that all the time. If I had a kid when I was 18.
Yeah, I was finna say, when you was younger, it'd have been.
And I wasn't even fucked up on drugs or anything. I was just young and out of control and probably realistically wouldn't have, and it's.
What would you call out of control when you was 18? Other than
But I wasn't fucked up on drugs. I was out of control in the sense that like all I cared about was like traveling and riding bikes and like just all this shit that we were into at the time that, I don't think I would have been able to slow my life down.
Were y'all
enough.
into drugs at that time?
No, I wasn't.
No,
That came
no.
later.
Little weed. He said that came
At that
later.
time, no. Luckily, I'm the rare one who made it through their like teens and early 20s without getting
That's
fucked
what's
up.
up.
Yeah,
That's what's up.
Yeah.
That's what's up.
rare moment in time where that was actually cool to be drug free
Okay.
in my particular social circle.
And when you had when y'all had Parker, you was ready to have a kid, or
Yeah,
definitely.
we were already boring as fuck. We were already like. I was like, we're paying too much attention to the kid or to the cat.
To the cat.
The
Okay.
cat. And to like Netflix. Like we're like getting too into these shows that we're watching. We need something to take our attention away from this bullshit.
That's what's up.
Yeah, for sure. But so I don't know. I mean, what do you have planned for the future, and how do you think about what you have to offer to the world? Because I feel like you're probably gonna have a lot of eyeballs hearing your fucking story for the first time. I feel like your DM inbox might be a little out of control for some time after this. But what do you have planned in your life, and what do you feel like you still have to give to the world?
Definitely, we getting ready to make On Track Music a household name. That's the record label.
Right.
And what I have to give to the world is, definitely advice. And I get what you're saying about the inbox, because one thing about me, people be blown away. I check every message I get.
Right.
And that's what shocks them the most. And they be like, man, I hit this person. They never even responded or left me on the red. But me, I don't leave a person message unseen. I make sure I answer every message, because you never know. That could have been a person that was reaching out that was considering suicide and was like, you know what? I should reach out to this person. I heard about this person. So I answer every message, and a lot of messages I get every single day, family, is from people that's going through something, or they just need someone to talk to. See, with me, when I was going through my suicide thing, I don't feel like I had anyone that I could sit down and talk to. Because when you mention the word suicide to somebody, the first thing they think you're crazy.
Right.
Oh, you need to go in the mental hospital. Are you crazy? They get on the phone. This idiot over here talking about killing himself. No. Talk to that person. Hear them out. Listen to them. Some people just want somebody to listen to them that's not going to judge them. That's not going to look down on them because they're thinking about suicide. I'm that person. I listen to them, and I give them real advice. Not off something I read out of a book or a newspaper, but from experience. And I give them real advice. And where I really blow their minds at is I reach out and check on them. Week later, 2 weeks later, just want to reach out, see how you doing, hope everything good and you stand on track. And they be blown away like, man, I can't believe it, man. I got family don't even reach out to me.
Right.
You really took time out your day to reach out to me to see how I was doing. The littlest thing could make a difference. I've spoke to a person before, and this person was thinking about killing themselves. And I seen them at a 7-Eleven. And they was literally thinking about killing themselves. And I was like, hey, how you doing? I hope your day going well. And he was like, man, do you mind if I talk to you for a few minutes? I said, yeah, sure, why not? He said, man, why did you speak to me right now? I speak to everybody. Like, he said, man, that really just made my day, man, because I really feel like nobody care about me. Like, I don't have no reason to live, man. I've been thinking about killing myself. And I said, why? Man, I'm homeless. My people's kicked me out. I'm out here on the streets, and nobody don't care about me. And he said, man, just that alone, you speaking to me, made me think about it, man. And I promise you, I changed my mind. And I'm not going to think that way no more. And I told him, like, there's shelters. There's outlets out there that can help you until you can help yourself. And like I said, the littlest thing, people don't realize the littlest thing, because we live in a time where a lot of people are selfish. They care about themselves only. Oh, I don't care. That's on them. They doing bad, that's on them. No, me, I live life and I work hard because suicide get kicked under the rug so much. I live a life, family, to be the face of never give up. And that's what I push hard for, to be the face of never give up. Because every day above ground is a blessing. Life is amazing. Some people need to be told that. Not everyone have guidance. Not everyone have someone that they can talk to when they're going through something. Because a lot of people, like I said, are looked down on. I don't look down on nobody.
For sure. It's an amazing story, honestly. I mean, I was holding back tears in the beginning part of this fucking story about what happened to you when you were a kid. And then the suicide thing and you getting your life together after that is kind of awe-inspiring. And then these motherfuckers trying to drag you back into it, the story of you getting shot later in your life, it's just like, fuck. I don't know, man. It's a wild story.
I kind of looked at that as well. Like, even the second time when I got shot in 2008, I was at a party. Young cat, man, that, I've been knowing since he was a kid.
Didn't you say the first one was 2007?
Yeah, 2007. Then in 2008.
So you have these two back to back. Almost.
Yeah, then in 2008, but I got hit in the leg that time, man.
Okay.
And it was kids out there. So, I was standing on, I was on my phone. I was standing by my Hummer. I was on my phone. And I remember somebody saying, hey, watch that car right there. And when I, looked up, you seen the front window and the back window go down, and two cats come out the window with burners. And I look, I'm like, oh, shit. I spin off. And block, 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 block. I got hit in the leg that day, but it was kids out there. I'd rather take a bullet than see a kid take a bullet. Straight out.
Was the reason why this happened a mystery to you?
I wouldn't say it's a mystery. Sometime, I guess, being in the wrong place at the wrong time. And then I also look at it like I've done a lot of bad things in life.
Right.
A lot of bad things in life. I've done so much bad things in life, I couldn't say it.
Right.
So sometime a couple times I looked at that as, you know what? Okay.
Do you live with guilt for some of the stuff that you've been forced to do? Would you describe some of it as being forced to do?
No, I've never been forced to do anything.
But do you feel like you, at some point, the stuff you
I grew up with no remorse and a bottomless stomach. So I've seen things that some people would throw up on that I'll sit there and eat a full meal in front of it. Straight out. Hands down. With no problem.
Takes a lot to bother you in that regard.
Take a hell of a lot to bother me. For real. Hell of a lot.
I could imagine.
If you bother me, I'm going to bother you back. And my bother is, it's crazy.
But I would assume, you're a grown man. You stay out of trouble for the most part.
I don't get in no trouble. Like I said, this is what I do. I give advice to people. I don't bother nobody. Don't bother me. And we cool. Because if you take me out of character, it's gonna get ugly. It's gonna get ugly. Cause when I get out of character, I black out. And I don't know what happened until after someone tell me, because I don't remember. I black out. But for the most part, I love just living life, chilling, smile on my face. Let's go to the studio. Let's make music. I want to see mine eat, man. That's what it's about. And I want to see people win, everybody, man. Not just people I know. I want to see everybody win, man. There's so many people around the world that's going through things, man, and that feel like life is just own them. Just own them. You know, from people in relationships, and, you know, they having arguments, you know, with their girls, and just everyday normal life will put stress on a person to where to put them in a dark spot. And sometimes when people get in a dark spot, they don't know how to come back to the light. I show them how to come back to the light. Because one thing I know for sure, I'm one person on this planet. When somebody tell me they considering suicide, I can relate. I know what they feel like. I've walked in their shoes. That's why people reach out to me. Because they like, this is one person I know for sure understand me. Let me hit them up. I give out my phone number. I've been at this number 17 years. People call me from all around the globe, either on my regular number or WhatsApp, because my international people call me on WhatsApp. And we talk, and they tell me what's going on. I guess you could say I'm a therapist. I didn't go to school for it. It came naturally. It came from self-experience.
Respect. It's a crazy story, man. How can people stay in tune with you? What's the best way? Instagram, obvious.
Yeah, definitely. Instagram, OG Suicide, OGCUICIDE, and anybody, all walks of life, whoever you are, if there's ever a time and you feel like you don't have anyone to talk to, or you don't want nobody to look at you as being weak, or you don't want nobody to look down on you, my personal cell phone number is 310-938-9376. 310-938-9376. Don't ever feel like you don't want to be a burden. You don't want to bother me with your problems, because I give up my number for a reason and a purpose, and I'm here for you.
Respect. And treat that number with respect.
Mandatory.
Appreciate your time, man. It was a real honor, honestly. Like, your story is one of the craziest that I've heard in the 1,000+ interviews that I've done. It's awe-inspiring, and, you know, it's kind of an honor to know someone who's really made it through the ringer like you have, and came out on the other side.
Appreciate it. Likewise.
And I think you're going to inspire a shitload of people too, especially people going through shit.
And it's a lot of people going through things right now.
Yeah. Ain't that the truth? OG Suicide. Appreciate you, man.
Likewise.
No Jumper, coolest podcast in the world. Check us out on YouTube, TikTok, Patreon, Instagram, etc. Like, comment, and subscribe if you could. Subscribe to the No Jumper Clips channel, and make sure you tap in with OG Suicide on streaming services and Instagram. Probably be the best ones. Appreciate you, man.
Appreciate you.